Hi, hi, hi. Okay, the last video I went off script. I didn't read the note that was written for today, and I just started kind of like being a bit more, I don't know, uh, in my exploration of what's been going on. I started being a bit more emotional, I guess. It's not that I was emotional. I was kind of like trying to understand what I'm feeling, right? So, like, anyways, so I went off script and I didn't know what to name it. So, but I ended with something. Reflections aren't sweet, but clarity has to come with some form of exchanged value. And it's because I started the video by expressing my feelings as more of a shock feeling, but afterwards I kind of like realized it's more of a like calm, slow-paced, calm feeling. And it's because like some weight has been lifted over my head. I don't have to pay rent for the next 6 months, for example. That's actually what happened. So that kind of like freed stuff in my mind. And I'm hiring people as well because like I have some money to actually hire people. And that also kind of like I made me want to start approaching my plan and seeing basically the ins and outs and all the things that are not really clicking. And so I ended with the whole like there's a price for clarity, but I didn't want to write price. So I wrote exchanged value. And I recently did a video about like the price of presence is attention. Because the minute I realized that okay, there was a burden, I was unburdened. Like I started connecting how like that what for me that was value that I actually gave out to receive something else. Something in order for that burden to leave me, an exchange needed to have happened. And in this case, it's basically uh, me getting a bit of money for the actual company is basically what allowed me to feel some form of like kind of like relief and like calm and what's going on. I haven't felt this way in a while, but I still can't articulate the feeling. And so hear me out. I can't articulate the feeling because right now I'm aware of what value I actually gave. And granted, holding on to something or stress is not really the best value to hold. But it seems like it's something that we actually like can generate. We can generate this kind of emotion, whether willingly or unwillingly. Our body has placed its energy into generating this, regardless of how calm and collected you are about it. There's a giving up factor, like truly, truly trusting that everything will move in a certain pace has more of a giving up factor than I believe this will happen and that's it. I have to give up kind of way. Because that's exactly how I felt the past like 2 months. Not give up on my project, give up on just kind of like stressing. But still, I had built the stress up. And right now, the place where it was allocated on my body and in my mind is empty. So when I gave it away, it's an exchange, and I am considering it an exchange specifically so I can like articulate what I received from it, right? Or else I would not be aware of the things that are replacing it. Because, and then I would have to kind of like figure it out later on and then spend time figuring it out in order to understand if this value or this bundle of emotion that was generated by my body and my energy actually serves a positive purpose or not. I don't want to risk it. Because just like me stressing on rent and food and just kind of like the consistency, the continuity of this, just like me stressing on it back then didn't really serve a purpose. What if this energy, this emotion, because I gave it right now, it's gone, whatever I receive, if I don't understand it, might actually end up not really serving a purpose. In fact, it has a higher chance that it doesn't serve a purpose because that allows the awareness within you to actually expand itself and start reflecting on the forms of energy that you are actually like building within you and the forms of energy that you are welcoming, because some forms of energy just kind of like it's how heat generates light to that it's translated, right? And electricity is basically fire burning inside an engine. So all of these are kind of like, we could use fire for a lot of things, but definitely we can't use fire, for example, in order for us to clean our hands, right? We'll burn ourselves. So some energies will not really build, will not really serve the purposes that you want them to. So it's like naturally you're actually trying to be more aware of what are the things that you're using for what, because like you can use a spoon for a whole lot of things, but I've actually many times when I don't have a screwdriver around, I've used the tip of this in order to like open screws. Is it effective? Yeah. Is it efficient though? Fuck no, man. I spend 30 minutes, sometimes even more, and sometimes I lose spoons. So there's like this delegation of like your own kind of like internal energy sector that you get to explore, and you actually like right now there's a new feeling, so it's pointing towards whatever happened. It's the emotional response towards whatever happened. And I was cool for a while, like right for the first 3 days, 4 days, I was pretty cool. I was like, now the plan is set. But then because I had a plan and I started interviewing people, and then reality started kind of like showing me how true, how honest my plan was, or how much it actually fits in whatever it is, whether it is my style, whether it's my momentum, whether it's the exploration of just like my vision and stuff like this. So it's actually integrating itself in a very funky way, simply because it's a feeling, right? So it's a feeling, things around you start changing, and you try to be, when you realize that your awareness or your focus or your dedication or your tenacity or your fucking, what's the stubbornness, right? Because like ultimately I was like, all right, instead of doing nothing, I'm just gonna do the plan. I don't know if it was in my capability to actually like review it and think about it differently, or it's because it was much easier for me to just start. And because I'm starting right now, I'm exploring feelings under normal circumstances or in normal circumstances. And my past method of doing things, I would literally like operate like what's it called? The arcade game where there's a ball and you have like two left and right like triggers. I forgot what it's called. It's like one of the first games that was on Microsoft Windows. Forgot what it was, man. It's just like you literally have to push the ball. But anyways, the ball literally has like a whole lot of walls, and so it kind of bounces off each of them. And back in the day, I would just like go with full energy, and what I would do is I would kind of like, if I hit something, it just bounce, it just bounce, it just bounce, and it doesn't really matter until I'm completely like drained out of energy. And if you know the game, the ball starts falling back down. And the trick is to last as much as you can before it actually slips to the like before it goes beyond your reach. Super fun game, man. I'd be interested to play it again. But anyways, the idea behind everything is it's an unwinnable game. The only way you will win is if somebody else actually like is playing with you and you have a higher score. So you don't really win; you just last. And that's exactly basically how I used to do back then, and that's what got me to that's what got me to burnout, exhaustion, all the stuff, a bit of anxiety, a bit of fear, kind of a lot of things sunk in heavily within the time where I was kind of like, ah. And so it feels right now that I'm doing them in bits and pieces. But again, like the actuality of it is this relationship that I've verbalized over time. There's always an exchange, and the application to the exchange has to happen either way. Right now, I'm just like kind of a bit curious on how, on what kind of energy I'll receive naturally, and exploring how to use them fresh from the start instead of assuming. Remember, we're still talking about how, like, the right tools create efficiency in your workplace. And so when I went off script and I was like, okay, so now that I have more space, because that subconscious stress kind of like faded away, what happened was I have space and I have like the price of clarity seems to be frustration. It's just because I think frustration is kind of like us not able to see or not able to kind of like take that step. And almost after frustration, there's always a sense of clarity, but once we actually go through it, once we actually process it. And I wonder what kind of energy I'm receiving for this clarity, and if I'm able to kind of like utilize it in a way where I still see things like within a clear slate, or because it gets clearer and clearer. Like you only realize how everything around you is kind of blurry until it's refined even more and more and more and more and more. HD TV kind of showed us how we were used to something and suddenly, what the fuck? I think that's literally what I'm going through, and these two videos have been fun, completely off script. All right, domo arigato. It's a video.